From here on out, every foul is flagrant, boy. Let's go. What's up? Came in a chokehold, more balls than Esco. All right, maybe
you are now tuned into the chat room, your favorite baller's favorite podcast.
Welcome back to the Chatroom Podcast. I am the Senator, and with me today I got Coach.
What's going on, yo? What's going on?
It's a whole different setup for me this one, but it's all good. I still found a way to make sure I'm here to record. On this episode, we brought in some very influential people in the area of basketball across Canada, and not even just across Canada, but their experiences goes way beyond what they're doing at this point. We're going to get into a lot of their details and their stories, but first, let's just introduce everyone. So first, we got John.
How you doing?
We got Chris.
How's it going?
We got Wayne. And we also got Ro.
Hey, what's going on?
All right, gentlemen, we're going to start off with some roundtable discussions. And the first question is pretty simple. What's the favorite book that you've read?
Well, I'll jump in first because the favorite book that I read is obviously the Bible. You know what I'm saying? From the historical standpoint and the literature and the poems and the artistry of it and everything. Obviously, the Bible is the number one book.
Okay.
Mine for sure is like ever since my injury, like for sure it's Mamba mentality, man. Because like once I tore my Achilles, like I just kind of gravitated to all that. So I definitely read that book in 3 weeks. So
yeah, well,
over and over again. So
I got a slew of books I'm supposed to read, but the only one I read consistently is my Bible, and then after that, I try to be more strategic, and I'm more of an article guy as opposed to a book guy. So I haven't really dug into any full books outside of God's Word recently.
Okay. The Bible is always number one. One of my favorite books is from John Wooden, The Pyramid of Success. I read that some years ago, and it really was influential for me. How he built the pyramid, the building blocks, the core values that he used to describe, everyday life for an athlete or an aspiring business person. So, that book was really influential for me.
Chris.
I'm going to say, I don't know, I go through a book at least once a month. Books are very big, and everybody's already chosen the Bible. So, I would say the autobiography of Malcolm X is always tough for me. But one of the things I'd recommend, which has been really life-changing, is Black Rednecks and White Liberals by Thomas Sowell. And he's an American economist, a Black guy. And it really breaks down from the history of before slavery, during slavery, where we are now, and how we can better ourselves. And I found that the book has been life-changing lately.
That's dope.
All right. For me, I'm not even a big reader like that. So I think the last real book that I read was in high school. But it's just being honest. But I think for me, and it's one that I reference a lot at times, it's 1984 by George Orwell. That is one of those books that anytime people ask me, that's the one that immediately comes to mind. So that would be my choice.
Dope.
Next question. Who is the most interesting person that you've met or had a conversation with?
That's dope.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll start off. A couple years ago, they had a Canadian Walk of Fame, and I went to the ceremonies with Elijah Fisher. He was a speaker, a presenter at that awards, and one of the awards was they're giving Dr. James Naismith Walk of Fame for being an innovator in sports and obviously basketball. And he's obviously dead by now, but his grandson, Jim, was there. Wow. And I felt like a kid in the candy store, like how that face where, at the Michael Jordan fantasy camp, and that little chubby black kid is looking up at him like, dang, like that's the GOAT. Like that's the dude that made this possible for us.
Made everything possible. Yeah.
In basketball. And I'm asking him all these questions about what did your grandfather say and how was and I'm just asking the questions, and he's telling me he's interested in let us know what it is. So he's obviously the most influential and special person I had spent some time with in terms of learning about the origin of basketball and everything like that.
That's dope.
For me, it was I met quite a few people from my years of playing professional basketball, but I think the most impactful person that I spoke to and picked his brain was Bill Russell. We was at the Rainbow Classic in Hawaii, one of the tournaments. I don't think they have that anymore, and I was fortunate enough to play in that, and because we went to the same university. I went to the University of San Francisco. So Bill was at our game, and he was just really nice about giving his time and sharing his time. We talked about winning. That was one of the things I wanted to know about is what do it take to be a winner and the type of work that's required. So he really gave me a lot of great insight on just taking it day by day, second by second. He'll break it down minute by minute. And it made a lot of sense, that, you got to understand that you're going to make errors and you're going to make mistakes, but you can't dwell on them. You got to be ready for the next play. So some of those conversations I had with him was really good for me.
Dope.
That's dope.
Guys, I was chipping in and out, so I didn't hear the question exactly.
Most interesting person that you met or had a conversation with?
For me, it's going to be Maya Angelou. I met Maya Angelou twice. She came to Toronto, and I got a chance to speak to her backstage. And I realized that when you talk about life lessons, I expected her to go on stage, read some poems, and pretty much. But she spoke about life, and meeting Maya Angelou was incredible. It's like listening to your grandma tell stories about your history, and she spoke about the history, just of Black people on a whole, which is never mentioned enough. So meeting Maya Angelou to me was like a life transforming experience. I almost felt like I wanted to quit my job and go follow her around tour. It was honestly that impactful. So I'm going to say Maya Angelou.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. That question made me realize I really don't go anywhere. And it's not even just COVID. I'm just not really I'm not a social person. I don't really go to concerts. I don't go to book readings. I don't go to anything. But so I think a lot of the people that I speak to that have been the most influential on me are the people that I work with. And I think I've had the privilege of working with people who like my big thing now is curriculum writing and developing and entrepreneurs that are big into intellectual property and writing. And I think as Black people, we don't really, we're still yet to tap into the power of our intellectual property, like our years of experience and how to preserve that and how to translate that even into, into legacy and monetizing it. So I've been learning a lot about that. And, and I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, even as a teacher. So I have, a few business mentors that have really, really been helpful for me along the way. and I really, really appreciate the time they take for me. And last thing I would say, probably a good friend of mine, Johnny Williams. And he's like, to me, he's like, in terms of enlightenment as a Black man, that it really helps me to refocus my compass on, what life is really about and what my purpose is. And, Johnny Williams is, he's a really good friend of mine that I love listening to him speak. So.
That's dope. I mean, I can kind of echo those sentiments. Like I'm still fairly young, so my experiences and my journey hasn't been as interesting as a lot of y'all. But definitely, like, I'm not just saying this because he's on a podcast, but since I've been in Calgary, one of the most interesting people I've been talking to, and I've been blessed enough to meet is actually John. Kind of just talking to him and kind of just being kind of like a sponge around him and his experiences and being involved in his program and kind of going by his house and talking about basketball and all that stuff. It's definitely kind of opened my eyes in regards to coaching. Prior to coming out here, I never really thought about coaching. Like I knew I could coach. I knew I had the knowledge to do it, but I never really dove into it. And then since being out here, like I'm coaching at a college. I've been doing travel teams and all that stuff. So it's just he's definitely been one of the big influences for me out here. So yeah,
thank you.
That.
Appreciate that. Sure. How much I owe you?
I'm trying to think for myself. I think probably it would have to be Michelle John when she was Governor General of Canada. I got invited to go to an event where it was her and the Prime Minister of Canada both there, and I got the opportunity to meet them and have a conversation with them. So to me, it was different too, because she was our Black Governor General of Canada at the time too. So it was really dope getting that opportunity to meet her in person.
That's dope. Yeah, I don't know any politicians, so you beat me on that for sure.
I don't know any directly either. So.
For sure. All right. Well, as we kind of mentioned to start the episode, you guys are all really, really deep in Canadian basketball. You guys have all been around for years. You guys have all had your hands involved in many athletes' lives, not only on the court, off the court. You guys are very successful. You guys have your own organizations. You guys have done it all in Canada basketball. There's not a player in the NBA today that you guys have not been around. So that's, you guys have that kind of reach. But what has your journey been like? Like, how have you guys been able to go from where you guys started to now with your own organization, your own everything?
Well, I'll start first. I'll just say that with all the different women that have been in my life, whether it be my grandmother, my mother, my older sister, who's passed away now, and my wife, and even my daughter, I've those people have all helped, shape me in terms of being, with me throughout this whole journey. Whatever it be, whatever it's been like in terms of basketball. So I would say that. In terms of the women that have been in my life, have walked me right through the whole process, and obviously, give glory to God for what He has done in keeping me and strengthening me and providing for me and protecting me through all this whole journey.
Mm-mm.
I mean, for me, it's I think. We may come into sport and the in this case basketball for different reasons. I mean, I played it to save my life, and then once my life got to a good place, I wanted to help my little brothers. So so I first started coaching, like in the early '90s, not because I wanted to coach, but I wanted my younger brothers to have the opportunities I had, and one of them passed away now, and he passed away in the late '90s, and I just remember, for me, I just feeling like I wish I would have come back sooner. I wish I would have come back sooner, because maybe if I would have come back sooner and got a program going and got him involved, maybe that would have been the difference. Save his life. And then, And so that made me want to, just want to save kids, and basketball was a way to save kids. I mean, my background is sociology. I mean, I went to school for that, and, I did end up teaching, but I wanted to be a social worker. And it was my professor that said, no, Wayne, you'll never make it because, you'll want to bring every kid home, like you can't do that. She said, go into education, you'll still get to have that kind of impact. And then when I was in education, it was Dr. Spence, he really encouraged me. He's the one who encouraged me to do my first team. He said, use every talent you have to bring kids in. And so at the time I knew how to step dance, I knew how to play basketball. And so I always said, start a step team, start a basketball. And then, from there it was wanting to build and be a builder. And I think that I transitioned out of coaching. And I just felt that like as a Black man, I really wanted younger Black people to see that we can build.
The three things here.
That we're not just consumers, we're not just people that use, but we're actually people that can build. So, so my journey I think it's more motivated by, my own sort of intrinsic wanting to help or save something or somebody.
Nah, that's dope. That's amazing.
I'm going to say, for me, I started coaching when I was in grade 10. I coached a grade 9 girls team. And if I trace back basketball for me, growing up in Galloway, and basketball kind of being that escape. Basketball was something that, we didn't need a lot of money to do. It brought people together. We used to hang out at 4301 Kingston Road, in the basement. We had a guy named Angelou.
That's a spot.
100%.
That's a spot. 4301 Kingston Road, apartment 220. That's a spot.
I tell people this all the time that I think maybe the greatest album was Thriller by Michael Jackson until Drake said, wait till I'm resting. And then that became the greatest, But anyway, so growing up in Galloway, that's my foundation. And basketball was that escape for us. My parents never had a lot of money. I remember it was $20 to join the Galloway Lancers. That gave you your jersey and that you play for the season. I remember going to my dad, building up enough courage to say, can I? And then once he broke down the whole Nabil Farms and grocery, I realized I wasn't going to play. You know what I mean? And going to Martha Smith at the time, she brought me in. And what I realized all the way back then is that basketball really changed my life in a lot of areas. And I wasn't, I wasn't a guy playing basketball that was a superstar. We had guys like Delroy Williams and Leroy and
Coach
legends that knew how to play ball. I was a guy that if I didn't work my butt off, I wouldn't get on the court. But I use basketball to reach young people. And the longer I'm doing this, the more that I don't really want to be known as a basketball coach. Because that's really not why I'm in basketball. If I can use basketball as leverage to affect lives, to help people, then at the end of the day, I'm very happy with that. And it's helped me to build a lot of relationships that I have today, long, life-lasting relationships. And so I owe a lot of it to basketball. And so, as I said, I tell people all the time, not just a basketball coach, honestly, is to bring people together and to change lives. So that's been my dream.
For sure. Yeah. But yeah, you heard the question?
No.
Okay, yeah, but basically the question was, how have you guys been able to kind of be successful to get where you guys are? What has that journey been for you guys throughout the beginning and to where you guys are now with your own organization, your own club, your own things going on?
Well, for me, my program is 15 years old, but I've been coaching for quite a while since I retired. And, I got involved because, I made a promise to some very important people in my life when I was younger that steered me in the right direction. Through sports, kept me out of trouble. I learned the discipline, and the coaches, the little bit of coaching that I had prior. Not like today where you have skill trainers and you have this person doing this and that person doing that. Well, we kind of learned by trial and error, by going in the backyard or going in the alley or one of the outdoor courts and this practice your game, practice your craft. Like we learned from watching TV. We had one game a week on the black and white screen. So I would watch, John Havlicek or Earl Monroe, and we'll go out there and practice his movements. And, we was going by trial and error. So when I did get some coaching, it was really important to me. And I asked the coach, I said, what can I do to repay you for taking the time to pick me up and take me to the gym and make sure I'm safe? And he said, the way you pay me back is by helping someone else, and I took that to heart. And that was one of the reasons why I started coaching, because once I retired from professional basketball, I was done. I was good watching the odd game now and then, but, I really didn't have any interest in coaching. But some friends of mine asked me to help them out with, some of their teams. And I said, sure. And once I started, I asked them, I said, what the heck y'all get me into, the parents and all the stuff that goes with it. And, I'm not playing and I should be playing and, kids not going to practice and things that were not good with me because I went to practice every day. I didn't miss. And you got kids that miss practice, but they never miss a game. So, those things I didn't like. I wanted to change that, and I wanted to say, hey, you got to be committed, not just to the team, but, you got to be committed for yourself and also the organization that you're representing, because, parents are paying money for you to play in the program. So, why are you missing? Why are you not going there and taking advantage of the program? So, that was one of the reasons why I really started CYDC is because, I want to help in the community. I want to help the kids, underprivileged kids and, give them an opportunity, because I was one of the kids that didn't have a lot of money coming up and I missed out on a lot of opportunities, camps and things like that. So, I just wanted to make sure that, if kids want to learn and play in a safe environment, that I was able to give those opportunities to those kids.
That's tough, man. Go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, I want to say something because, I really, even when I'm looking at my response, I was like, if somebody's watching this, I really would like to make sure that if I have an opportunity to say something that they can take away. And when I look at, Chris and I look at Ro, John, I don't really know you that much, but, the one thing I really want to say is, I see perseverance. When I see these guys, I know what I went through. And, and as a Black man, I don't know every step they took, but I know they had to go through a lot.
Similar, yeah.
So I want to be very real about that, when I say that, when I look at these guys and John, obviously, your story is going to be exactly the same, is that the challenge for us as Black men building is, we're building with limited resources, the whole, we've had to build with limited resurces. We have to build with the responsibility of the community on our back. And that means that even when you're trying to get there, there's a sense of, well, you got to do it at your expense because you are, you're the face of the community, you're a leader, so you have to sacrifice. And then, but that's not the expectation from people who come up from the outside and use our community. And then the other thing that we have to, I know, again, and forgive me guys if I'm, I'm speaking for you guys, but from a top down, when you look at, whether it's from the TDSB, Canada Basketball, all these, the different governing bodies and different things like that, they're not embracing us and saying, hey, we love what you're doing. Let us get behind you. So absolutely. So when I see these guys for me represent perseverance. And if I were to say to any young person, especially young Black man, Black woman trying to build their own organization is be prepared. Be prepared that, it's going to be a rough journey. It's going to be a lot of bumps, but I
agree.
these guys are men of faith, and so am I. And I think God had purposed us to do what we did for our community. And I think that, I'm hoping that, people will sort of see and recognize that, any success that we have, they can see that it's more than just like Chris was saying, we're more than just coaches.
Yeah.
We're more than that.
For sure.
I agree because, I was fortunate enough to win Citizen of the Year here in Calgary through my work with basketball. And, I was voted in. So I went to the ceremonies where the mayor was there and a lot of heavy hitters in the city. So I went up there and I gave a speech and I said, everybody was clapping for me and stuff. I said, there's so much things that we need to help these kids. You parents talk about, their kids are hanging out at the 7-Eleven. They have nothing to do and they should be off the street. So I told them, I said, you guys talk about that, but you don't give us support. I said, we need funding to help these underprivileged kids, to keep them safe and off the streets. And, by the end of the day, I had so many cards that night, people saying, well, we want to help you and we want to do this, and we want to do that for you, and we want to raise funds. And 2 weeks later, nada, nothing, and if it was, if it was not for me being an athlete, I would have gave up a long time ago, because we are fighting a fight that we could lose, and, we get up every day, we go to the gym, we find a way, to make sure everything is done and paid for. And, the people here in the community, they want the world. They criticize you. You don't have this, or you didn't do this. And, it's hard, and then the kids nowadays, the loyalty factor with kids and the commitment to programs, it's unbelievable. It makes you want to say, that's it, I'm done, I did my part. But there's something in our heart that make us keep going, and thank God that, for you guys that's out here in the community trying to make a difference, because, it's easy, you can easily give up. You really can.
Yeah, sure. No, those are all definitely 100% facts. I guess I'll go forward and I'll say, like, as you guys have all touched on, you guys have all kind of played huge roles in the lives of a lot of athletes throughout Canada. Mike, I want to kind of go back and kind of take everything back to like your first time going to the U.S., your first time bringing a group of athletes to the U.S. to go play basketball. What was that experience like from you guys being a Canadian team going to the U.S.?
We got our butt kicked for a lot of years. Just stumped. And, it's funny because I was fortunate to watch Roe win his first Las Vegas tournament. I don't know if that was your first one, but he won the big time with that outstanding team. And it was amazing. Corey was on that team, and Tristan,
Mike,
Junior, and I was sitting in the gym, and that was a proud moment for me. And I'm not even a Canadian citizen, It was a great moment for basketball. And then 2 years later, I won my first championship in two different divisions. I think I was one of the first teams to do that in two different divisions in one tournament. It was amazing. But it took a lot of work, and I remember that game, bro. You guys, man, y'all was some bad boys, man. Y'all came in that gym and y'all just smoked everybody.
Y'all play Oakland, yeah. Remember?
I think it was that was a magical moment. That was a historical moment for me. Thanks to the Lord, and we had done some stuff before. My first experience in the States when I first embarked on AAU, you wanted to kind of figure it out and see how it all works. And there's a tournament in Buffalo, and I was coaching at a George Brown summer league way back in like '89, and that all-star team, and we beat up on different university and college teams. And I was like, this team is pretty good. And I was asking the guys, where are you going? Where are you going to university? And they're like, I'm going to Humber, I'm going to Seneca, I'm going to Ryerson, I'm going to York, I'm going to Guelph, whatever. And I'm like, Dad, you're pretty good. there's got to be another option for you, and that's what made me think about, let's go to the States and see what's going on down there. And then, we went to this tournament in Buffalo just to feel it out and see how it all works, because everything was always OBA or club basketball or community center basketball. And, went down there and we actually, won, and that was like, man, like, okay, so I was right. We are pretty good, and then everybody down there was saying, hey, who are you guys? I didn't even know there was basketball across the border, even though it was Buffalo, they had no clue. They thought it was all white folks. Everyone played hockey.
Yeah, igloos.
Even the igloos,
yeah. And then that's how it started from there, to really say, okay, there's something here where guys can have options rather than only going to a Canadian university. You can go down to the States, and then you start finding about junior colleges and NEIA, Division II, Division I, and you're saying, okay, there's options, there's levels to it. So that's how it got started, and the rest is history.
Rest is history. That's dope.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of interesting because it's me and Keith Vassell when I was in high school. There's a guy by the name of Al Previtt, and Al brought me and Keith down to play in Buffalo, and that was the first time for me crossing the border. Because with Kingston Galloway, I played for Galloway too, and we used to go out to Sun Youth, play Riverside Church and all that. And that was our first exposure to playing against Americans, but that was on this side of the border. So when me and Keith got a chance to go across, it was again, that was me going, and that would have been 1990. We're in high school, but then I had a summer job with Chris Spence, and that's when I had hired my brothers, and I miss Dr. Spence, man. That man just made things happen. So he actually set me up. I had a summer job hiring kids to play for me. And so I hired my little brothers and and that was and a bunch of their friends, and that was our first trip to the States. And it was like it was really, I wanted, like I said, my beginnings was I really wanted my younger brothers to have the experience that I had. So that was like, so I was like in, summer of my, sophomore year or freshman year or something like that. So 91, 92. And from there it was, I came back when I graduated, and I came back to Canada in about 96. I just picked up sort of where I left off. I just kept, just grabbed some more guys, and, I said, that as far as trying to create opportunities, same thing like Coach Rose saying, that, I'm a Malvern, I was in jungle because I worked at Lawrence Heights Middle School. So, so I was already being exposed to these neighborhoods where there was those kids that were not going to get involved in Ontario provincial team program. And so it just, again, okay, so, if I'm taking care of my brothers, and at this point it was too late, things that happened with my brothers, and, but I still wanted to continue what I'd set out to do with them. And we just went there and we just started balling, and representing the best we can, carrying Canada and Toronto on our back, and, the rest is history.
That's dope.
I'd say, for me, first time I went down, we were playing for Galway Lancers, Alex Beeson, Sean Johnson, Patrick Williams, Tony King. We'd put in a group together, and we're being coached by Mervyn Busby.
Hey, Merv, that's my coach.
Correct. And he drove us down to Scranton, Pennsylvania. And
it's in Pennsylvania was a spot, yeah.
Yeah, we gave him the name Swervin' Mervyn. That kind of stood for us. Every time we were driving, we were trying to sleep, we'd hear the tires touching the gravel. You know what I mean? And so we'd have to wake up. So we went down to Scranton, Pennsylvania. And honestly, it was such an amazing feeling, because as I said, before that, we're just playing against different communities in Toronto, Jungle, Finch, that sort of stuff. And imagine bringing a bunch of us together as a collective, going down to the States and playing in a tournament, and what that did, I think it bonded a lot of different relationships with guys from different parts of the city that didn't get along. And, unless you were from G-Way, we didn't think you were good in ball anyways.
Facts.
Patrick Williams could really.
Trying to buy us on here. We got a lot of Galloway guys.
100%.
It's deep. It's deep. Yeah.
As they say, spread love is the Scarborough way.
Yeah.
So we went down to the States, and it was such a life-changing experience that when I got a chance to take my first group down, which was like Javal Miles, and we took DeVoe and some of these guys when they're kids, and we're able to take them to the States. I wanted them to have the same experience that I had, and by no means did I intend for this to be anything big, but, having them have the same experience, it's blossomed. When I look at the work the other guys on here have done, especially Ro, just getting to meet John and Wayne and stuff, they've taken kids down and where the game has gone to today. But for me, going down initially was just having them have the same experience I had in high school, seeing that, there's a different world. And if I'm going to encourage young people, travel, because
sure.
you see a world outside of your own community,
opens your eyes,
outside of your own city, outside of your own country. You realize it's a big world out there with a lot of opportunities.
Facts.
And travel.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and people throw around the term trailblazer very loosely. Trailblazer. Everybody's a legend now. Everybody's a legend. Everybody's a trailblazer. But Chris mentioned Mervyn Busby, and I got to tell you, I've been doing these podcasts with women that are older than me, and I'm like, who got you into ball first? They're like, Merv. Are you kidding me? Like, how is Merv everywhere? Because he's coaching women older than me. He's coaching Chris. He had me and Rowan and Keith Vassell and Sean Green. That group of guys. I mean, and he's still going. And he's still doing it. And I bring him up to say that again, as Black men, it is so important that we acknowledge our builders. It's so
for sure
because
100%.
A guy like Merv, people, a lot of young people don't understand that, that how much he trailblazed, and because of his trailblazing, what it did. And I think it's unfortunate sometimes that
It gets lost.
It gets lost. Popular culture. It's pop. What's popular, unfortunately, is what people know. But there's a narrative about Canadian basketball that I think that that really ignores a lot of builders.
For sure.
And I'll talk about Ro. I mean, John, I don't really know you like that, but Ro's impact on Canadian basketball, is something where I think you might hear about it, but when you talk about trailblazing, opening doors, making what we see today a reality.
For sure.
His name is in that book, his name is there and
cemented.
It's cemented, but it's cemented by us at this level. But unfortunately, there's people that, that hold, really control the popular narrative that they're not going to say that, and the Canadian Basketball Hall of Fame is a reflection of that. And
definitely.
I'm not sure.
Unless you played for the national team or the provincial team, guys like us that have done so much in the world of basketball over the years will never be recognized ever.
At the grassroots level.
You got 4 Black people now in 50 years in Canada Basketball's Hall of Fame. And I think the last 2, like Sylvia Sweeney, just came in the late 90s. That's ridiculous. And guys like Dix are not going to get in there. Guys like Yearwood, you're never going to see them. And I think that it's unfortunate because our children are going to look at that and think that, okay, well, let me look at all these white faces. I guess these are the guys that made it a reality, made what we see a reality, and then throw Vince in there. So, I mean, I'm just saying that to say that while these guys are here, John, I can sense already the impact that you're making. I know the impact we as Chris made. I just want to make it very clear that whatever narrative of Canadian basketball is out there, this is the real deal right here.
I mean, I'll kind of end it on this. if you know, you know. I'll just leave it as that. Like, you know, if you're a part of everything and you've been on the ground and you've been involved with everything and you've seen everybody, you talk to people, you know the names that are involved. You know the real people who are kind of putting the hammer to the pavement or whatever and kind of making things happen. And then that's you guys for sure.
Well,
for sure.
I'm just, but my issue with that is, I'm saying is that it's not enough just to know. I think we gotta do something about it. We gotta write about it. We gotta do documentaries about it. We gotta put statues up about it. Like, we have to, because you gotta think about inspiring that next generation of kids. We're not gonna inspire that next generation of Black kids just by, They need, because they're seeing the statues and they're seeing the documentaries, and they're seeing the others that don't look like us, that are being celebrated on a regular. And those neighborhoods that built this, that whole Jane pipeline that built what we see, who's going to invest back in those neighborhoods if you don't think anything good ever came out of there?
Exactly.
You stand Rose runs, like Drift Jungle. Like, if people don't understand it, how important Galloway, how important those neighborhoods were to what we see now, why would anybody invest back in there if it doesn't look like anything good came out of it?
Yeah, exactly. Especially now with social media and all that stuff. Like, if you asked a random kid, he would never know or who
the history,
any of this stuff.
Stanley Falstaff, like, come on, like, and it's no wonder nobody puts nothing back in there, because nobody thinks anything good came out of there. Because we don't talk about it. Like, we don't.
That's a good point.
That's facts. That's facts.
Not to take over, but
no, that's fine. No, man, this is barbershop talk. This is the chat room. So I guess my next question Ro kind of touched on it earlier, but like, what was that moment like, or I'll say this: at what moment did you guys realize that, okay, Canada basketball has a place in not only North America but in the world? Like, at what moment did you notice that, okay, these guys that I'm bringing down to the U.S., these guys that I'm training, or these guys that I'm coaching, or these guys that I'm trying to have them experience the world, they actually can make it. They have a chance to kind of play against the top U.S. guys, the top world guys. Like, at what point did that click for you guys?
I'll start. Obviously, the biggest thing that comes to mind when Wayne and I were, merged and partners, and we took a group of guys to do a France for a world championship, and most of the teams that were there were the actual national teams. And a lot of guys, some of the guys went to the NBA. Like, when you look, hey, that's so and so, that's so and so, that's so and so, and it wasn't like we just took our guys from within our organization. It's not like we went over to Montreal and Calgary and Vancouver or whatever. We only took our guys, and to go to the championship game and lose by 2, at the end, I played against top teams from France and from the USA and from all over, and to see that, dang, the Canadians can play, because this is one small group. It's not even the whole, best guys you can find out there. That's when I really said, okay, Canada, can go places. Canada could be, world, top 5, top 3 in the world, based on, that.
Yeah, I mean, that I would have to say the same thing, man. I mean, like, hindsight is I mean, obviously is 2020, but we went, we barely even got to prepare for that tournament. I mean, I just did a podcast with Eugene, and Eugene's like, yeah, you guys called me the night before. Eugene wasn't even supposed to go, and he got called the night before. And and these guys, we balled out. But again, we came back, no fanfare. I think that was one of the highest finishes, silver medal. But I mean, for us, I agree with Rode. That to me solidified it. And then, but I think on another level, if you go back before that, I knew we had it because our Black tournaments, like the Martin Luther King and
MLK in Montreal.
MLK, yes.
MLK, yeah.
Like, if you remember those tournaments, American teams used to come up, and we used to put work on them. And then even Michigan, I remember, I think we I think we might have beat Michigan one year with the Michigan All-Star game. So I think, for us, the evidence was there, but we hadn't gone across the other side and really
showed it,
proved it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what Ro's talking about is we knew we had something special. We knew Fridge and this and Turbo and this. Like, we knew we had the guys, the Bobby Llewellyn. We knew we had the guys, but we were yet to go over there and just. And I think, the victories that John, you're talking about, Ron, John, that you witnessed, Ro, there's, those would be like, when you talk about historic things that need to be, when you talk about Canadian basketball milestones that you celebrate, you do documentaries about.
That Vegas team, that team with Mike Jr., that team, they have, like, just how they made the Vince Carter documentary.
Yes.
They got to make a documentary about that team because for sure, because that team had that legend, special team, man.
Starts in 10 minutes.
You go down that roster and you say, okay, this person, like, those are all like high level, talented players.
Prep starts in 10 minutes.
Definitely did their thing for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Nine guys out of the 12 went high major, and like all 12 guys went Division I. So it was a historic team. That was the next thing after.
Canadian basketball milestones, and I'm telling you, there's a sense of, for us as Black men, sometimes, people like to distract us with, some of the things that, that go on in the community. But there's nothing wrong with rivalries. Rivalries are good and healthy. And I think that, but rivalries should not be an excuse not to respect accomplishments of each other. And I think we start doing that more than the people that are scorching the earth. We're not going to make their job so easy where they can come in and say, okay, well, we can just change the narrative here because they're not celebrating these accomplishments. So why should we? And create a whole new narrative, And that's why, like I said, I got to be careful, I don't want to, make it about us and us versus them or anything like that. Cause I think we're at an incredible time in Canadian basketball right now.
Sure.
We're at an incredible time, but at the same time, I still believe that if we're talking about inspiring our children, that, Black children to be builders, we got to keep those memories and those milestones. We got to keep them alive and fresh as can be.
I think that just to build on that a little bit, and this is what I think Wayne was alluding to earlier about the powers that be and the influence, because something like that should have been celebrated, but it was looked down on. And I remember when Ro was going to the States, he was villainized, and this was bad for basketball. And when he started TAPS, Toronto Area Prep School, he was a villain also at that time, and so unless you're part of the establishment, you weren't celebrated. And it's funny because I read what Kareem said. So Jack Donahue, who none of us in the eyes of Canadian basketball could touch. Kareem said he was his worst coach that he's ever had, and he hated playing for him. He was terrible, But I tell you how the establishment worked. They were locking up, especially people from Black communities, for selling weed, and then the government got into it, and now it's acceptable.
So it's a multi-billion-dollar company right now.
Correct. So what happened was, these guys were taking kids down to the States and giving them a different experience. They were villains. The guys that are doing it today are heroes.
Yeah.
And so I think that the indictment is against Canada basketball, and anybody what people are doing now is people are righting the wrong that they've done in the past. We see it with them, tearing down statues and all that sort of stuff. And I'd like to see Canada basketball come to the table. And the people that they made villains is that they make it right. You can't get off the hook when everybody else is on the hook. So I think they've got to look at these guys that were trailblazers and acknowledge them and almost right the wrong.
I agree. John, how about from your experience? Oh.
Well, I mean, the culture for me is different because I'm coming in from the U.S.
From the U.S.
So, coming from a totally different, mindset of how to, promote your players and showcase them. Here, like I said, it was like, why do you go to the U.S.? You're going to lose. You guys are not good. They put all these things on us, and I'm like, we are good enough. We just got to we got to play in front of the right people. I knew there was a change when these coaches, they started calling, and we at the tournament, and they're not supposed to be communicating with you because it's a quiet period, their period, and you go to the bathroom and here come 3 or 4 coaches right behind you, and the people stall next to you talking about where that kid, where he from, and I like how he plays and stuff, and we got to come to Canada, and when these players started going in high in the draft, I mean that showed everything about Canadian basketball, and not only Canadian basketball, what we're talking about the grassroots, Who's working with these kids when they can't dribble? Somebody is. Somebody's working with them. They can't shoot. They can't hit the basket. 2 feet from the basket, he missed the whole basket. Nobody want to work with them. But as soon as they start developing, these are our kids, and stuff. And that's what's sad for me, because there's a lot of people that do a lot of work behind the scenes. Like we're talking about, they don't even get the credit.
No. And it's so important. I'm saying, Canada basketball received a gift, from, Row First, but myself, everybody else here that's being involved. That's a gift. They didn't develop a grassroots program to nurture the talent. They just received it, and that
they want your players.
But they won't acknowledge the fact that somebody constructed this, somebody made it possible for them to be on the receiving end of all this. And because they're a governing body, they have guys a certain way. Like me and Carl English is cool. And Ro knows this too. Like when Carl English came to Toronto from out east, he was in Regina Patches. That man was in Jane and Finch playing for us, playing with me. And right up until he went to Hawaii, and he wrote a book, no mention. I said, Carl, you were in Finch. That, you and Stevie Morrison and, even Denham when he was young, where do you think you came to? And he didn't mention, but he didn't want to be controversial. What do you mean he didn't want to be controversial? Bro, that's where you learn how to ball. You came, you're nice, but guess what? That time you spent in Finch and with us was where we got it out of you. But not to be controversial. So you write a book and you can't mention Jane and Finch. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Then who's going to believe that anything good comes out of these Black communities if the people that come in and use it, even if it's for a time being, use it and move on and
don't say nothing,
can't even acknowledge it like that. And again, not to pick on you. Hey, Carl, love you. I bought your book. I got a copy of your book. I love you, bro. But, you can't be doing that. And that goes to any of the kids that we raise that are in a position where they can have a voice about what their roots are and are afraid to say. Afraid of what?
Give back, man. Give back for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, so we've reached the part of the podcast where we get to promote our social medias and anything else that we might be working on. This is just an opportunity to just promote whatever you got going on. So we're going to start with you, Wade.
Right now, I live on both sides of the border. I'm in Phoenix, but my main project is, like I said, I work I've worked for myself for the last 12 years. So a lot of the projects that I take on are just things that are more that I'm passionate about. I write curriculum now. I work with the top educational consulting company in the southern United States, and wrote an adaptive PE curriculum for children with autism. And I consult with that out of New Mexico and out of Phoenix, out of Arizona. I work with Jamaica basketball.
Yep.
I do. I like to organize. So, I run a prep program. I don't really coach or train or do that kind of stuff, but I love to organize. I'm spearheading an initiative for a Hall of Fame, not a Black Hall of Fame, but an alternative, just another Hall of Fame. Because like I said, I'm in America where you got Hall of Fames everywhere. You got
everywhere. Yeah.
McDonald's down the street got a Hall of Fame. So, so for me, I'm like, I don't see why we can't have more than one, because we know that the representation is needed.
For sure.
So, so a lot of the initiatives that I have going on, I think there's some spaces as Black men that we don't occupy. And I don't know why, we don't really occupy that space of recruiting and evaluation. So I started a recruiting platform that I'm pushing, and doing some certification programs as well too, that I'm working on that. I think one of the issues you have in basketball skill training is everybody and their mom can wake up and say, I'm a skill trainer. There's no quality control. There's no financial metrics. There's nothing. Mm-hmm. And where there's a mess, there's an opportunity, but it's usually the white guys that will come in here and regulate us. And so if we wait, so that's why I didn't want to wait. I don't want to wait for them white guys to come in and tell me that I got to get their certification in order for Black guys to train. We might as well just do it ourselves, because that's what's going to happen. So I would say, like I said, I'm a social entrepreneur. I like, finding projects, and those are my main projects right now. I may have missed something, but those are things I have on the go right now.
Okay, dope. Ro, we'll go to you next.
Next, to change kids' lives and give them something better to hold on to, and not just be a part of a statistic in terms of the whole nine. But you can reach me on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Ro Russell, and on Twitter GRC Elite, and on Instagram we are Grassroots. All right, so I'm also coaching at Crestwood Prep, prep school in Toronto, private school at Crestwood Hoops on Twitter and Instagram, and I still got a lot of life left. So thank the Lord for everything, and I always want to give Him the glory in everything I do.
Amen.
Dope. John.
CYDC basketball, like I said, we just had our birthday. We 15 years old.
15 years.
I started it from scratch, and we've been able to help a lot of players to play here in Canada and the US. My thing is developing athletes. It was funny, Wayne talked about trainers and stuff. I laugh because there's a lot of snake oil salesmen out there, that have no clue. They're gonna throw some dribbling drills and they're training you, but they're missing the delicate parts of training, the small integral details. I talk to David about that all the time, where I'll tell him, I'll show him something that, see, this coach would miss this little thing here, this angle, we'll never see it, and his footwork and how his feet is and his back and his body movements. So CYDC basketball, we got our website up and Instagram, Google that stuff, and we've been trying, like I said, we've been trying to help these athletes. More important, we have a lot of kids, because we are a skill development program. that won't even make their high school team, but they're becoming doctors and lawyers. And that's what's really important to me, because I tell these athletes, it's not just about basketball. Basketball is a small part of what we do. You know, we try to build outstanding individuals in the community. And if we can continue to do that, then we will stay successful. You know, I don't gauge success by how many tournaments you win. And we've had our fair share of wins, but I gauge things by the effort of these athletes, giving it all. So, you know, you can find me at CYDC Basketball.
For sure.
Dope. Chris.
For me, you know, I run Advantage Basketball community organization in the Ajax and Scarborough area. We've continued to do that. We've been shut down, obviously, because of COVID right now. I'm also the director of the men's basketball program at J. Addison Prep School in Markham. I have a great staff. Our athletic director, Chris Francis, has done a good job. And again, anybody that knows things about me knows it's all about relationships. At J. Addison with me, I have Jelani Matthews, you know, who runs basketball. Yeah, we have Jason Calise, you know. Yep, he's a part of the staff as well too. Javal Miles is another guy that's a part of the staff. So, you know, the role that I'm taking right now at this point in my life is a mentor, a basketball mentor to these young guys coming up and really pushing them and promoting them, you know, to be great at what they can. At this stage in life, as I said, like none of us are stepping away, but our roles and our hats have to change.
Changes, yeah.
That's why I say when young guys are coming up, I don't even understand, you know, why some of the older guys hate against them. You got to mentor them and give them the opportunity, give them the tools. So right now, that's what we're really focusing on. So again, still with Advantage Basketball, you know, we're on Instagram, Advantage Titans, and then, you know, with J. Addison Basketball that we're doing as well. The good thing I like about it is it's a private school that, you know, it costs a lot to go to a private school, but we've negotiated scholarships, you know, for kids, marginalized kids in the inner city. Now they're able to get a private school education, you know, and don't have to pay the cost for that. You know, they've also allowed us to bring kids in from different countries. And so we've had about 4 or 5 kids from different African countries, you know, Nigerian, Ghana, like we've brought a bunch of guys in. And so those are the relationships we're trying to build now. We're partnered with a lot of academies in Africa, you know, to bring kids here, to give them a different perspective, different opportunity. We've got to use basketball to change lives.
For sure.
Know what I mean? And so that's what we're trying to do. So that's what's going on right now.
That's dope.
Coach.
Yeah, myself, my IG is Real Deal _Francis. COVID kind of got to shut us down here at the college. But the good thing is we got some good news. We're opening up a little bit soon. Trying to prepare for this national championship run. So yeah, doing the whole CYDC stuff with John. So yeah, that's me, man. I'm not no big deal yet, but I'm coming.
This is huge. You're creating a platform. Appreciate it.
Nah, I definitely appreciate y'all, man, for sure.
And as for me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at The Senator. Don't forget to check out the Not So Soft podcast with myself, Nino Rockwell. Kino the Great comes out every Friday. Don't forget to check out my Twitch page, twitch.tv/It's The Senator. I DJ live on there every Thursday and Sunday, 6 to 8 Mountain Time, 8 to 10 Eastern Time. If you haven't checked out the Chatroom Podcast Instagram page, make sure to do so at @the.chatroompod. If you like this episode and any of the other episodes, don't forget to send us an email. Let us know that you're rocking with us at thechatroompod@gmail.com. New episodes every Tuesday. We're just going to be consistent with this and just keep getting bigger and better. Merch is made. We're going to be putting in some more orders for some new merch. We already had a giveaway. We're going to be doing some more of that. So make sure you're rocking out with us and following the Instagram page. share it and do all that stuff. Like, rate, subscribe, share, wherever you listen to it, the Chatroom Podcast, whether it's the audio or the video, we drop both on the same day. And before we wrap up, we just want to say thank you once again to all the guests.
Sure. Appreciate y'all for sure.
Coming on, kicking it with us. Definitely we'll have you back on.
Sharing knowledge, man, and history.
All right, thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Problem, man.
Good. It was good talking to you guys, man. Y'all had some great things to say. I mean, stay focused, man, and just keep grinding, fellas.
All right, you guys too. It was great being on.
Yeah, keep doing your thing, guys.
Hey. And this has been the Chatroom Podcast, your favorite baller's favorite podcast, and we are out. Peace.
Take care.